we're here with Chris Clarke, and we're more than halfway through the Under-21 World Championship at Sarasota Croquet Club in Florida. We're actually all the way through and ready for the quarterfinals now. So I have Chris joining us, and we thought we'd do an update halfway through the event and start to talk about what's been going on in Florida. You just said you have got caught up. You just watched the games that just finished then?
Yeah, it's been great. So many thanks to everyone at Sarasota for the coverage. Great to have multiple lawns, and I think the little scoreboards they've got at the bottom, so we can keep in touch with maybe 3 different matches at a time. They're being updated. That's a really good innovation. And I think maybe you could fit 4 or 5 along the bottom as well, because I know there've been people from all around the world watching. And I just had a quick look at the quarterfinals. I think we've got 6 countries represented, and there's always a story at the under-21s. There's always something that comes out. We know a lot about the sort of top guys, the guys who are going to be challenging to win the event. But actually having 6 countries in the quarterfinal, that's a story in itself. And big congratulations to the WCF for how the sport's developed over the past 30 years. If you'd have said, even 10 years ago, we're going to have 6 different countries, that would have been a surprise. So really good to see that.
Yeah. England, Australia, New Zealand, Spain, 2 players, the USA, and and Egypt. Yes, the big one. So yeah, well represented and very and balanced as well in the quarterfinals. So shall we take a look at the bracket? It's not quite updated yet. No, it is updated. Okay, let me switch over.
While you're doing that, I'll just chat about the first quarterfinal we've got up there. So it's Jack against. No, it's Ethan. It's Ethan. That's right. So we were thinking that Callum was 6-5 up, but it's actually Ethan who was 6-5 up.
Right.
So it's the number 1 seed, Jack. My view, the numbers don't seem to quite balance what I've seen. So Jack hasn't conceded more than 4 points to any player so far. He's unbeaten, the only unbeaten player we've got in the tournament. And yet, watching his match against Simon Denchev, I didn't feel Jack was in top form. I still think there's a lot more to come. So that's one side of it. Ethan's done really well. Callum's quite a good balanced player. I say he's bicodal. He's solid, reliable player. And for Ethan to come through that match, 7-5 in the third, very strong performance from Ethan. To me, I've mentioned the fact we've got, half a dozen countries in these playoffs in the quarterfinal. That's great. The other story, and probably for me personally, the most interesting thing, is Simon Denchev. My word. I remember when Edwin Fordyce first came to United, and he was he's about 4'6". And about 11 years old, and I saw him play for a day, and I went to his parents and I said, I think this guy will be a future world champion. And that's my immediate impression about Simon. Fantastic temperament, fantastic technique, this very interesting multiplicity of styles like Matthew Essick. He's playing positional shots, looks like Irish. He's playing clearance shots standard, and he's playing jump shots Solomon. And lots of youngsters at that age haven't got either the strength or the flexibility to play Irish grip.
Right.
Equally, they haven't got the strength and the flexibility to play standard grip with their hands together. I started off playing when my hands were split because I simply didn't have the strength to do anything else. And it took me till I was 18 to change that. He's 11. He can play all 3 grips. He's got a good temperament. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting since, it was noted that Matthew was doing this switchover. I had never heard of that before. In past history, was that a thing that players did? Was choose different grips for different shots?
Not at all. There have been a few players who've swapped grips during career. So I think Nigel Aspinall swapped from Irish to standard, probably due to wrist problems. Jenny did something slightly unusual. So Jenny Clarke, my wife, she swapped from being left-handed to right-handed, or I can't remember, from right-handed to left-handed. So that's an even bigger change in many ways. But these have all been caused due to injury. Matthew's the first person to come along and say, I think I can get an advantage by playing one type of shot one way and another type of shot another way. And I was sceptical to start with, but I think Matt's a fantastic player. And just like Ahmed El Mahdi, the first time I saw him with his sort of interlocking grip, I thought that was interesting. I've always said in 20, 30 years' time, we'll find more and more people playing almost interlocking. So hands working together, swing coming from the shoulders. But yeah, Simon, wow, he's good.
Yeah, the score. I mean, Jack was in control, but there was a moment there where it got tight, Jack actually looked a little bit frustrated in that second game.
Yeah, Simon had a chance to go 5-3 up in the second game. I say no one so far has taken 5 hoops off Jack. Mm-hmm. So he definitely had a chance. I like what I see. He is going to be a big name if he decides that this is a sport for him.
Yeah, and you mentioned Jack as well earlier, and yeah, he was the highest on net hoops at plus 58 of all the undefeated players of the top seeds. So, definitely playing well. Any other quarterfinals that really caught your eye?
Well, I mean, this one's going to be a really good watch tomorrow. Almost contrasting temperaments. Eduardo Nunes, sort of quite a hot player. He'll get a bit hard on himself when he plays an imperfect shot. He'll hit the ball hard. He'll hit some fantastic shots during the game. We will see some quality shots come off his mallet. Levi, quite calm, balanced, consistent, really tough to beat. That's the most interesting match from my perspective tomorrow. I'm hoping that's going to get live streamed. Eduardo, as I mentioned in the preview, is the sort of guy the top 4 players don't want to have to meet. He's already had a fantastically close match in his block stage. I'm trying to remember, was it Blake he played?
In the
I'm
block?
just trying to remember. But he had a very close match. Against Forsey. So he lost to Forsey 7-6 in the third. So he's shown the ability to play really well by taking Forsey to hoop 13 in the decider. Equally, he's shown the side of him where he sort of drops off a little bit by losing. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he dropped a game to Luke Francis. So, he isn't quite as consistent as some of the other players, but his top-level game is right up there. And that's the match I'm going to be most interested in tomorrow.
Yeah, mentioning Levi, that was, that just finished up watching him against Jana. And, like you said, we got to see a lot of Jana over the past few days. And from day one, I think we saw her on day one, and you mentioned that getting comfortable with playing outside of Egypt, and she really looked a lot better. It was, not a great game one for her, but that second game was just fantastic, and thought it would go to the 13th hoop.
Yeah, I think one of the things you find with a lot of the Egyptian players is that they'll play quite a lot of very good shots. And I've seen Yana run several 7-yard hoops during the event. But what I call the meat and drink, the basic shots, they're clearing the 5 to 7 yarders. Certainly anything you're clearing from 3-4 yards, you want to be able to hit it in the middle each time. When you're clearing 7 yarders, you want to hit it each time. And the Egyptian players don't quite have the consistency at that range. They, possibly due to technique and the fact that they've got very quick swings, it makes it difficult to get the consistency. The swing's quite a lot from the wrist rather than the shoulder, and they'll hit a lot of good shots, but if you can extend hoops with them, eventually they'll miss something that you think's pretty straightforward. So I always thought Levi was going to win that probably straight games against Yana.
Yeah. You may know from your time with the WCF, the court assignments, those have to be randomized, right, by regulations?
Yes and no. Randomise is probably not quite the right word, because the manager will have a very clear idea in his head on what exact lawns he's going to play each quarterfinal on. And he will have made the last 16 lawn allocations based upon that. So tomorrow, all of the 8 players in the main event will go on a different lawn to the one they've played today. And then for the semi-finals, they'll all go on a different lawn to the lawn they played the quarterfinal on. So all that will be very clear in the manager's head, and it will be fair. Probably not right to say it's random. It will be random in terms of balanced. Every player will get moved around, and no player will go back on the same lawn. And the manager will have worked that out beforehand, and that will be done.
Right, and so I guess random would be the wrong word. It is trying to ensure that people aren't using the same court over and over to balance the competition.
That's right. One of the matches to maybe chat about was something that happened yesterday, and they showed quite a lot of the coverage between Levi Franks and Sam Cuthbert. And my view of that match was it got to, I think Levi was 5-3 up in the third game, and my view was that both players were slightly underperforming. Their positional play wasn't great. It was just a bit loose. Neither player playing at sort of average form, just slightly below average. And then Sam picked up his game. He played a boundary jump shot over 2 balls at hoop 9 to go 5-4 down. Followed it up by winning hoop 10 and then ran hoop 11 from the north boundary. So really interested to see the players who can pick up their games at key points in matches. I always started out at Golf Croquet and I tried to play the first 6 hoops of every match in a very balanced way, just to test my opponent out. I'd leave them some 7-yard clearances. I'd leave them some 4-yard hoops, see what they can do. And then hopefully, I don't have to play any better than I have done just to cruise to a win. But if they start playing well at me, then I can move 2 or 3 gears up on those second set of hoops, the hoop 7 to hoop 13. And very good gear change from Sam yesterday. And Levi still won the block, despite losing to Sam on net games. So that's given him the slightly easier round 1 today than he might have had.
Right.
But he's in the tough section of the draw.
Yeah, so that was 3-7, then he went 7-6, 7-6, which, so he's, he beat Luke Francis today, and then that will be a big match to watch as well as Blake and Sam.
Yeah, I mean, based upon what I saw for the majority of the game, until Sam increased his sort of playing level in the last 10-15 minutes, I expect Blake to win in straight games. But Sam, we have seen his capability to up his game. His performance at the end of last season was at a different level to what he'd managed before. He cruised through the qualifying event at the Worlds. That's never easy to do. And then he got almost into the knockout. I think you mentioned he might have played Blake in the block stage, or maybe Tom mentioned that.
Yeah, that was in the commentary.
So Sam can win. This is not a black and white match. However, I have Blake down as a clear favourite.
Well, he's world champion, so that's a lot of experience, and he's also the GTC World Team's experience.
When I've been watching him, he looks solid, although his positional play this event hasn't been as good as it was at Chesapeake Bay. And I said that was the difference at Chesapeake Bay to me. Blake's positional play was better than I'd seen it before. So I'm going to want Blake's positional play to improve. And if it does, I think he'll win that match.
Okay. And then at the bottom quarterfinal is Fauci and Inigo. I don't think I've seen Inigo play yet.
No, he's had a good tournament, hasn't he? And equally, Fawzi has looked very strong as well. That winning the match against Eduardo in the deciding hoop of the third, it's a strong result. I would like to see that as my number 2 game on the live stream. I think that would be another really interesting match to watch. For people who haven't had the chance to watch Fawzi before, he's just so laid back and relaxed. You just can't believe he's playing a big match. Got a nice flat swing, and I think he's a really good player.
Yeah. And that, you called it in our earlier conversation, is that the quarterfinals would be outstanding. And yeah, looking at the lineup, I'm like, this is, going to be, I'd watch any of these. And it's interesting how spoiled the very small live streaming fan base has become of why can't we see all these games, or why can't you switch over here? I'm like, well, these are good problems to have.
Yeah. And it's great whenever we live stream any golf croquet, the amount of people in Spain that tune in to watch, it's absolutely mad keen fan base. So, thousands and thousands of players over there now, really keen on the sport. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Inigo goes. It's going to be the toughest test he's ever had. But can he get into the game? He got off to a bit of a slow start against Jess today, and then powered through towards the end. He's going to need to start quickly tomorrow.
Right. Yes.
So, that's my number 2 game I'm most interested in. Eduardo v Levi, mouth-watering prospect. Flair against consistency.
So, anything about the venue that you noticed? I noticed one thing that I've seen, and I think it's well known about the United States. The sand-based court, but I mean, it's visible a lot of times when somebody hits a hoop at an angle. You can visibly see the hoop move on camera.
Yeah, and basically, virtually every American site has that. There've been 1 or 2 that they've had firm hoops at, but. No, they're always going to move, and because it's golf croquet, the hoops are getting slammed at time and time again, and particularly by the afternoon onwards, they really are starting to loosen up. And the quadway hoops don't tend to get loose like normal round carroted hoops sideways. The quadways move upwards, so they move vertically upwards. So if you can just tap them down with a hammer again, they actually firm up quite well. The fundamental square hole maintains its shape. So it's just a matter of, the referee going around after each game and, giving each hoop a couple of taps, and it's back in an adequate position for the next day. I don't know what plans they have to move the hoops. Normally you would move them for today before the knockout, and then for the final again, possibly the semi-final. Obviously it's a volunteer. How much volunteer time have you got? These have been very long days. You saw it was getting close to dusk today when we finished. And the lawns need mowing, they need hoop setting. It's difficult to get everything in all of the time when you're playing 12-hour days.
Yeah, it was a little bit fortunate that they that Levi did win against Jana, not for Jana, but I mean that would have probably left a game unplayed. I don't know if they would have gone under lights or not, but and that would have affected tomorrow's schedule.
I mean, you mentioned what else about the lawns? Fantastic pace. I have them at about 11 seconds. 11 seconds is about the right pace to play a GC event on. You don't need 13 plus. You want 13 plus for association. Golf croquet, 11 seconds. All the players can clear balls off the lawn at that pace.
Yeah.
That's important. Equally, with a little bit of hill starting coming into play due to the extra pace, your positional shots are just tested a little bit more than if they were 9.5, 10 seconds. So it's a really nice pace they've got them at. And we can see the lawns aren't all the same. Some of them are verdant green all over. Some have got some browner patches or whiter patches. So there's a little bit of reading of the lawns that the players have to do. I like that. I think that's a skill. And the final factor that I think is relevant is we've had some wind. Certainly yesterday when I was watching, it would be, Robert Fulford would have called it a hurricane. It was slightly breezy from my perspective. You could just see the wind rippling their shirts, and occasionally a player having to back off and re-stalk. Now, that's an advantage to the non-Egyptian players. The Egyptians are used to playing without wind. Everywhere else in the world, we get quite a lot of wind here and there. So, is it going to be still for the semis, the quarters? Both of those are played tomorrow. And then the following day, we'll get a best-of-5 final.
Based on knowing that there's rain moving through the Midwest for the next few days, I bet it's going to be windy down there. And yeah, for me, I'm like, there's nothing worse than wind, as a croquet player. I'd take on anything else besides wind.
Yeah, well, I was always good in the wind and bad in rain. So, but everyone's got their own likes and dislikes. Often it's related to their style. So I mentioned Robert Fulford earlier. Robert had a quite a slow tempo of swing, and if you've got that slower tempo, the wind has more effect. That obviously tends to indicate the person with the fastest tempo is less affected, and that person is definitely Blake. No one has a faster tempo than Blake. We think of the Egyptians as having fast tempos because they need that with their light mallets to generate power. So they'll be next on that list, but they're not used to the wind. So I think the wind is in Blake's favour.
That's a good point. Yeah, that fast swing. Yeah, I never really thought of it from that perspective, but yeah, that would be, I think, an advantage.
Yeah. Equally, Levi will have played around New Zealand, and Wellington's very windy, and the Mount, that can be very windy as well. So he'll have the experience of having played in those conditions lots of times. So, some people it will help, some people it won't.
The other thing I was thinking about with this event is, boy, it just seems like it flies by. It just seems, I guess it's 5 full days and everything, and that may seem long, but it's just amazing to me that we're already down to the quarterfinals. It just has gone by so fast.
Yeah, these events get finished pretty quickly. One of the things I like about this is that the first round of the knockout is just played on one day. In the main event, in the open worlds, we go from 32 players to 8 players on one day, and that is just carnage. It's 24 people get their dreams destroyed in one day. Here, at least, it's just 8 players, and tomorrow we'll go from 8 to 2.
Yeah, it's very entertaining, but I'm just like, I can't keep up with the pace of this event. It's going to be over before I know it. Other than, so you mentioned Simon, anyone else who either made the quarterfinals or didn't make it out of the into the main event that you caught your eye?
Well, I think Matty Clarkson will be very pleased with her performance. I liked her technique. It's nice and solid. I would like to see her stalk the ball a bit more, but lots of good shots coming off her mallet, very much improving. And you look at all the players in the event, and whenever I'm there, which I say this is the first event I've missed of these, you see improvement from day to day. That's how much these guys are getting better. So, really good performances by some of the Czechs. We've got one of them, Vostek, made the knockout. Really good. And these Latvians, Czechs, I'm really expecting good things in the next 10, 20 years from them. And these events are key.
And yeah, I believe Blake Fields came into the commentary box and mentioned how that he predicted success in the future for them. And I believe that was right after his 7-4, 7-4 match. So he must have been tested a little bit more than we knew in that match. So, okay. Well, it's been great to have you on, and it's been a great event. I don't know if there's anything else you want to close with.
No, I just hope everyone watches the next 2 days, because there's going to be some fantastic play and there's going to be some future world champions to watch.
Okay, thanks for joining, and we'll all be watching. And for everyone watching the video here, be sure and like and subscribe. And thanks for watching.
Thanks, Dylan.